Good time to start, I think, huh?
Waiting for the gavel to.
6:32, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit.
Thanks, big man.
Tom Pryor.
We will call to order the meeting of the Merrillville Town Council for today, June 22nd, 2021, at 6:32 p.m. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the moment of silence.
Let us pray. Oh, gracious God, we give you thanks for your providential care, the way you provide for our needs, and we pray especially that you would bless those who serve this community, either as first responders or whatever role that they play in the community and making the community work and operate. We pray that you'd bless their efforts and especially give them a sense of a courage and commitment and a willingness to do the right thing. Bless these deliberations and bless our time together through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Fletcher Williams, would you lead us tonight in our pledge, please? Thank you. Madam Clerk Treasurer, would you take the roll call, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Mr. Span,
Present.
Mr. Hardaway,
Here.
Mr. Minchuk,
Here.
Mrs. Uselak. Here. Mr. White, Mr. Pettit,
Here.
Mr. Bella,
Here,
6 present, 1 absent.
6 present. Has anyone heard from Mr. White today?
I have not.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. I'm going to call on Councilman Hardaway for a special award tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my deep pleasure tonight to honor 3 residents for what they did on May the 13th to rescue a little boy. Bentley is his name. And I'll read it's an honorary key to the town of Merrillville. In recognition of Paul Goddard, Ashley, I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. Ashley, if you hear, yes, know that it's you, and Martell Clark. Whereas May 13th, 2021, a Merrillville police officer was dispatched to a resident's address for a missing juvenile report. The child was just 3 years old, and whereas other Merrillville police officers arrived on the scene and began to search the surrounding area for Bentley. Hobart Police, paramedics, Hobart Fire, and Merrillville Fire also assisted in the search for Bentley. And whereas the Merrillville dive team arrived on the scene and searched the ponds in the surrounding area with all parties uninvolved, unable to locate Bentley at this point. And whereas at approximately 10:59, Lake County Central Dispatch advised of a citizen assist call coming out of East 61st Avenue and Vermont Street for a child walking down the roadway. And whereas residents Paul Goddard, Ashley, and Martell Clark assisted the police by providing information to the Lake County 911 Center and staying at the scene so Bentley would not wander out into traffic on the dark roadway. And whereas the actions by many allowed the Merrillville police officers to arrive on the scene and confirm the child was Bentley, allowing officers to contact the mother to allow her to pick up Bentley for a safe return home after paramedics transported Bentley to South Lake Methodist Hospital as a precaution. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Town Council of Town of Merrillville, Indiana, serving within its authority as both legislative and executive branches of Local Government does hereby issue this heartfelt thank you and honorary key to the town of Merrillville to Paul Goddard and Ashley and Martell Clark in the town of Merrillville, and call upon the residents of Merrillville to celebrate and show gratitude to this resident for their kind act of assisting the police department in the recovery of a missing juvenile and for assisting in returning the child to its parents. Thank you. Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate everything you did. It was my ward, and every time I drive down 61st Avenue now, and I get to Regency, and I tell anybody that's riding with me, look at what the distance that this kid walked at that time of night. So we appreciate it, and it's heartfelt things for you guys. And thank you. Okay, now how do you pronounce your last name? Okay, I never would have gotten it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Moving on tonight, a letter from the Town Engineering Administrator endorsing Core Construction's recommendation to approve payment for application number 20 to various vendors for work completed at the Merrillville Community Center. Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Bella. The town's professional staff, myself, have reviewed the May 2021 billing for the work done at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center, and we do concur with Core Construction's recommendation in approving application number 18 to the vendors listed below in the amount of $440,689.05.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Chair will recognize Mrs. Uselak for the motion, second by Mr. Span for approval of Core Construction's application number 20. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable voucher approval for June 22nd and the approval of the town council meeting minutes of June 8th.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of the consent agenda as submitted. Any questions or comments? I will say I've been a big critic of the minutes, and here of lately, they've been done much nicer, Kelly. So thank you to you and your staff for doing this. I know I was a stickler on it, but I think it paid off.
No problem. Glad you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Moving on tonight to standing and special committees, budget and finance, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. Later on in the council meeting, there'll be some ordinances and possibly some resolutions pertaining to finance. So that's all I have at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Public Works and Utilities, Mr. Minchuk.
No report.
Elections, Public Relations, and Town Beautification, Mr. Pettit.
Mr. King had provided me with a rendering from NDOT. We had talked about the entranceways to the town, the I-65 bridge over US 30, and then 61st Avenue and 93rd Avenue. Steve, I want to get together further and start getting some costs put together, bring it back to the committee, and see if we can't get that done here in the second half or fourth quarter of this year. I don't know, installation-wise, Steve, what that would take, but we do have the renderings. If anyone wants a copy, Steve can provide them to you.
Great. Anything else?
That's all. I think the signs, have the signs all been planted? staff? The welcome to Merrillville signs, have the flowers all been planted?
I think so.
I think,
Perennials, so they come up every year.
okay. That's all.
Thank you. Environmental Affairs, Mrs. Uselak.
Yes, according to the Indiana State Department of Health of Indiana, they have reported 2 more COVID deaths over the weekend. We have a total of 13,375 Hoosiers that have passed from the COVID, including 1,009 in Lake County. Lake County has had 55,691 cases of COVID. And so far, we have a total of 47% of Indiana residents vaccinated. And the big box stores, they're still having people use the mask when you come in, and so are a lot of other facilities. So keep your mask on, be safe. If you didn't get a vaccination, you can schedule it with any hospital or with the Board of Health. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really don't have anything other than to say that if people know of any young people that's looking for any part-time help, work, rather this summer, to please stop in the town manager's office to fill out an application. And we'll see what we can do to help you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Minchuk.
Nothing at this time.
Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we had a redevelopment commission workshop before the council meeting, and then a public redevelopment commission meeting where we passed an economic development agreement, which will also be on the agenda later on. This is for acreage that is owned by Weiss entities at 93rd and Taft. We will act on that, and then I believe there are several final resolutions on tax abatements for the Ameriplex development.
Thank you. Parks and Recreations, Mrs. Uselak.
Yes, as I have reported before, all the parks in Merrillville have been rehabbed, except one. And Jan, are they working on Sean's Park on the east side in Chapel Manor? Pardon?
Yes, they are.
Okay, then that park is being rehabbed as I speak, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't rename that, did we? It's not Sean's Park, it's,
Curtis.
Still Curtis
Park.
Park.
Sean gave that park the name of Bill Curtis.
He's up on the wall up there.
thank you. Abandoned and blighted properties, Mr. Hardaway.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Dina Barbara White Community Center, co-chairs, Mr. Minchuk, Mr. Pettit.
Jeff?
Go right ahead, sir.
A lot's been going on. Steve and Jan, correct me if I've forgotten something. The concession stand is near completion, I believe. A lot of the concrete work, the flat work's been poured out there. We've got the storage trailers out there for Merrillville Youth Soccer and Merrillville Pop Warner. The large scoreboard, which was named after Mr. and Mrs. Weiss, is out there. We updated some of the signage out there to direct people in and out of the center. I know that some additional padding was installed in the staircase. Am I forgetting anything, staff?
We upgraded the lighting in the parking lot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was done. I think that's it for right now.
Right now, I think that's it. Yeah, we've been focusing a little bit on the operational side, as many of you know. We had a committee meeting last Tuesday night going through some things. So I will call another meeting probably in another week.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that the Turkey Creek path has been started too. So.
Yes, it has. Thank you, Jeff. Yes, cutting trees through Turkey Creek to connect Turkey Creek to the center, Steve.
Yes.
The tree work's been completed, right?
Tree work's been done. So the trees have been removed. A geotech company is out there, been doing soil borings, to determine what type of footing we're gonna need for the bridge. We have, a conceptual layout that we've all looked at and agreed on, so yeah, that project is underway.
Thank you, Steve.
Welcome.
That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Special projects, Councilman Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are continuing to press forward for our August the 14th, 2021 birthday celebration. Pat, are you having the department head meeting?
Yes, we are.
What time?
10 o'clock
Where?
at the police substation.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Bell and I will be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We were going to talk to the department heads about what they need to do in preparation of the birthday celebration. And because we're looking for each department to provide us with some information as it pertains to their unit. And so we will be there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for that. Thank you. And we're still looking for everyone that was born between January the 1st, 1971 to December the 31st, 1971. I've had a couple inquiries, so people are getting the word out, and people are calling me about it. So if you know anyone, and if it fits anyone in this room, please feel free to come out and be a part of this festive celebration. We'll take that picture at 12 noon in front of the Historical Museum.
Nice.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to department and commission reports, Lake County Solid Waste Management District. I see Mr. White is absent. Pat, is there anything to report?
Nothing at this time.
Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, Councilman Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President. Our next meeting is next month.
Okay.
At that time, I'll have a report.
Thank you. Is Matt here tonight?
No, Matt is not. He was unable to attend.
Okay. South Shore Visitors and Convention Authority, we call CVA. Mr. Reardon.
Quick comment. We had a very productive meeting on the 17th. And as I've distributed, there's a grant opportunity available to all municipalities in Northwest Indiana. Recommend to the council and staff that we focus our energy and attention on the birthday celebration, which is in line with how the grant dollars can be used. I'll follow up tomorrow, the next day. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about this tomorrow morning.
Great.
Thank you.
Department reports. Jan, I'm going to call on you. You know that, right? It's your last meeting.
Good evening. I'd like to report, thank you, Mrs. Uselak, Curtis Park Playground renovation is underway. That will be completed this summer, and as soon as it's landscaped, it will be reopened. We had our first family movie night last Friday. We showed Tom and Jerry, and I'd just like to give a shout out to Belvedere Senior Living, who sponsored the movie night for us. Summer camp has been at capacity ever since we opened. The camp counselors and the staff are doing a great job with the camp. And I wanted to report a Nevco rep will be coming Thursday or Friday, Sean, just so you're aware, to try and fix the scoreboard issues.
Okay.
And what they think it is a Cat 5 cable that is loose, so they're going to check that first.
Okay.
And I'll report back with any information as far as that goes. And lastly, I'd like to report that July 10th, I believe it's the 10th, that we'll be holding a job fair at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center, and it starts at
11.
11 a.m.
11 to 3, and it's actually on the 14th. It's a Wednesday.
I'm sorry,
It's okay.
July 14th. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Please reserve the room for us on the 14th.
You're reserved.
Okay. Thank you, Jan. Any other department reports? Mr. King.
The townwide paving program is still ongoing. We're working in Ward 1. We're about 50% done with the concrete work in the Innsbrook area. Continue the concrete work and patching in Innsbrook. The paving in Bon Air has been complete. They're working on the landscaping now as we speak. They did start in Ward 4 today, removing concrete curb, 76th Lane in Taney and 76th Avenue in Taney. They started there today. Ward 7, Councilman White's ward, everything has been completed over there. The restoration has been complete, everything's been seeded, and we're going to continue to move on. We're also seeking proposals for restriping of 61st Avenue from Taft Street to I-65. To get that restriped, the markings are gone, we've crack sealed it, and all the markings are gone, it's becoming a safety hazard, so we're seeking quotes right now to have that striped. Also, Ward 5, we're gonna have an addition. I haven't, the transfer down to Public Works here, I haven't got that in the books yet, but Ward 5, we'll be adding 85th Court and Taney Street to our addition. I've got all the quantities. I'm working up the price now, and I'll add that on, and I'll get the spreadsheet out, updated spreadsheet out to everybody, just haven't had a chance to do it yet. So that's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Steve.
Welcome.
Any other department reports tonight? Let the record show that Mr. White's joined us at 6:52 PM. Welcome, Leonard.
Thank you.
Mr. Reardon, anything else to add?
No, sir, not at this time.
Moving on tonight to general orders, we have first reading ordinances, ordinance 21-17. It's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville adjusting its salaries, amending ordinances 21-14, 21-03, and 20-16, and the pay for the employees of the town of Merrillville for the calendar year 2021. This is in specific to the clerk's office.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak. Open for discussion. Anything to add, Trista?
I think only if there's questions.
Any questions? Anything to add, Madam Clerk Treasurer?
Yes, just had a consultant doing an assessment of the office and how it was run last year when I took office. Made some changes, had to add some duties to the employees, and when my two employees retired, prior employees retired, made the decision to promote 3 of the ladies in the office because they were doing additional duties and additional tasks, as well as some cross-training. So with that, and they were covering the one, we had one employee that was off sick, so they were already doing a lot of additional work. So I made the decision to promote them at the end of last year, after the retirees.
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing no other comment, roll call, please.
Mr. Span? Yes. Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
7 yes.
7 votes, motion carries.
Motion to suspend, Mr. President, and read 2117 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Hardaway for suspension of the rules to read ordinance 21-17 on second and final reading. Any questions or comments on that motion? Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Span?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes.
7 yes.
7 votes, the rules are suspended to read this ordinance on second and final reading. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Chair will recognize Mr. Pettit. Is there a
Second.
Second, Mr. Hardaway. Thank you. Any other discussion on this second reading ordinance from the council? Anything to add, Trista? No.
I'll leave it to you, Mr. President.
Okay. This is a second reading ordinance now tonight, so we will ask for public comment. Is there any public comment on this ordinance, 21-17? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Span?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
yes,
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
7 votes in favor.
7 ayes, the motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 21-18. This is an ordinance amending certain salaries. Trista, what are we doing here?
you're back.
Council, you'll note that just under the title, above the first highlighted area, the departments amended under this ordinance, 2118, are the town manager, code enforcement, and parks. There are the positions added that council has discussed under the human resource area, information technology, economic development, and then some additional employees for the parks department.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Hardaway for approval of ordinance 21-18. Is there any discussion from the council? Hearing none. Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Span?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yeah.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes,
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes.
7 votes in favor.
7 ayes, and motion carries. This particular ordinance, we don't have to worry about a second reading tonight, do we?
No, you don't.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to ordinance 21-19. It's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing a transfer of monies within the funds of the Parks Department and an additional appropriation.
so moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Mr. Hardaway for approval of ordinance 21-19. Trista.
As you see, this relates all to the Parks Department positions that were added. It is the form now that you'll have to transfer money from the Community Center Grant Fund to the Parks Non-Reverting Fund in order to pay the amounts that you are looking to approve in ordinance 2118. It does require an additional appropriation, which will be put in the paper for notice for public hearing for your following meeting on July 13th, which is why you did not need to rush and suspend the rules on 18 today. Not really much more to explain other than that. Pretty perfunctory.
So really, we're just moving funds around between funds, and that effect is zero.
Yes.
Any other questions from the council?
I have a question, Mr. President.
Mr. White?
With the addition of positions, how many positions are we paying for?
Total?
Yes.
52, was it, Pat?
Correct.
And also, all 52 are all at the community center?
Part and full-time.
Any other questions from the council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Span?
Aye.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yeah.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes,
Mr. White?
Abstain.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 abstention.
6 with 1 abstention, and motion carries. Moving on tonight to second reading ordinances, we have ordinance 21-16. On your agenda, 21-20 has been removed, so we're not going to discuss that tonight. Trista.
2116 is set for second reading tonight. It simply adds, as you'll recall from 2 weeks ago, the lieutenant line in the fire department, the fire protection territory. There's no other amendment to the salary ordinance other than that. It is, I suppose, of note, retroactive to the beginning of the current pay period so that payroll can run smoothly based on the time as well that the promotions were occurring, so that everything works out as it should.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
second,
We have a motion by Mr. Hardaway, seconded by Mr. Minchuk for approval of ordinance 21-16 on second reading. Any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, is there any public comment on this ordinance 21-16 tonight? Open for public comment. Is there any public comment on ordinance 21-16? Seeing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Span?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yep.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes,
Mr. White?
Abstain.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 abstention.
601. Motion carries. Moving on tonight to resolutions, we have Resolution 21-41. It's a preliminary resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville approving real estate property tax abatement.
so moved.
Second, Mr. President. I'll get.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of Resolution 21-41. Any further discussion?
Mr. President, if I could ask Councilwoman Uzelak to amend her motion, and I'll do the same to my second.
You have any-
In the third whereas, it says we are approving a 10-year real property tax deduction. The committee approved 5 years.
I will amend my emotion.
And my second is
motion
amended.
To state 5 years instead of 10 years.
Let the record show we're making a slight correction to Resolution 21-41, the third paragraph. Whereas the company has further requested the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana, which is the council, approve a 5-year real property tax deduction schedule for the project. Thank you for correcting that. Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
is that 100% for the 5 years, or is that, does it reduce over the 5-year period?
It's 20, 40, 60, isn't it, Pat?
First year, thank you for the question, Councilman White. First year is 100%, second year is 80%, third year is 60%, fourth year is 40%, fifth year and final year is 20%.
Thank you. No more questions.
It's a good question, Mr. White. We should probably also notate that Section 12-1, 1-1 should also reflect just a 5-year reduction plan based on the percentages that Mr. Reardon just read into the record.
Thank you.
Does your motion and your seconds hold for that
Yes.
correction, Marge?
Yes,
Okay. Joe, are we okay doing it like that?
Yes, you are.
All right. Thank you, Leonard. Anything else? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Span?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yep.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
yes,
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
All 7 in favor.
Motion carries then. Thank you. Moving on tonight to Resolution 21-42. This is the Economic Development Agreement. Mr. Pettit, this is a companion resolution. It kind of ties in with what you did at the Redevelopment Commission.
That is correct, Mr. President. Motion to approve Resolution 2142.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Hardaway for approval.
And just for the, Mr. President, if I may, as chairman of RDC and Mr. White was unable to attend, Leonard, what this agreement does is, this is basically going to, we will start with resolutions to create a TIF district around acreage that Weiss entity owns at 93rd and Taft. They will be demolishing the grocery store and converting it through a PUD process via the Planning Commission and Town Council into a multifamily apartment complex, high-end apartment complex. What this agreement does is ask the Redevelopment Commission to put its name on a developer-backed bond of $10.5 million. In creating that TIF district, when the draws come in, the town will get $100,000 right off the top. Anything else that's generated in that TIF district will go to Weiss entities toward the payment of his bond. He's buying the bond, so he's going to pay himself back, but we're getting the first $100,000. Mr. Pittman is in the audience. Is that correct, Tom? Did I surmise that correctly?
Come up to the,
Come up to this one, Tom.
actually, it's this one here, and then Mr. Weiss, would you please join Tom, in case there's any other questions?
Technically, the amount
Thank you.
that would, the first amount that would belong to the town would be the lesser of 15% of the value.
Okay.
Up to 100,000. So if everything goes as planned, it's going to be at or near the 100,000 figure. But that's the first dollar, so the first benefit of the project goes to the redevelopment commission or
Thank
its designee.
Don Weiss, would you please address us with Weiss Entities?
Sure, I'm honored to be considered, a project, we're honored to be considered for this project, redeveloping what is known as Twin Acres. Used to be occupied by one of our supermarkets, later by a store from Stratton Van Til. And unfortunately has been vacant since 2017. And we're pleased to have come up with a plan to turn it from what is a blighted project to what will be, without a doubt, the finest multifamily development in Lake County. We're bringing in a nationally known designer that we've worked with in the past, and this will be truly luxury apartments. There'll be two different types of product. 240 units will be a four-story building where the first floor is parking, 3 stories of parking above it, 3 stories of apartments above it, in a series of 4 80-unit buildings. Every single resident will have their own enclosed parking space. They'll also have additional parking outside, serving their apartments with elevators. We've shown to the committee that these will be beautiful, attractive buildings with first-class materials. Inside, there'll be things like stone counters, stainless steel appliances, and also it's going to be a beautiful site because we're demolishing everything there. We have a beautiful pond that's already there. No one knows it, but behind the former supermarket is actually a very nice pond. So everyone will have a view of one of the ponds. And it'll actually be one of the largest, tallest buildings in that whole area. It sits up on a hill. The views will be very nice. Those apartments in those buildings will be ranged from studios to 2 bedrooms. In addition to that, we'll have 80 units that are in townhomes for rent. Those will, 60% of those will be 2 bedrooms. The remainder will be 3 bedrooms. All of those will have their own parking garage, such that every single townhome will have a 2-car garage that's just for them. Above them are, first there's a living floor with a spacious living room, kitchen, etc., with the bedrooms above it. The project will have a first-class clubhouse that will include a large pool, workout facility, and a modern design with views over the pond and extensive landscaping. Some of the amenities will also include a very large dog park enclosed, 2 beach volleyball courts, another tennis court that's also has basketball. So this will be a year-round community. The people will be happy in the winter and the summer with all sorts of activities. Also, we have I'm honored to say we've been part of Merrillville since before it was Merrillville. So we first built our store, and my father, I think I was 0, built at 53rd and Broadway in 1959, I think. But as part of our commitment to this, to this area, we're very happy that we're also able to preserve and extend the beauty of the existing 440 apartments that are already there. Right now, they overlook a vacant supermarket, and now they're going to be overlooking a lake and other multifamily units. There's actually a beautiful reserve up at the north, and we're going to have an extensive trail system that we're going to improve that's already there. It's our plan to do the demolition this year if our schedule for approval moves along, which I think it will, and we'll start construction next year. I think it's a very important and wonderful step in the town's development. Those people moving into jobs at Ameriplex will have a place to live, and other existing jobs, and it'll be a place that will leverage the growth that's coming on I-65, both in Merrillville and Crown Point, and I think it'll be an asset that the town is very proud of. We're very appreciative of the support that we hope will be forthcoming for this project. Would not be possible without it. But that's the project in a nutshell. We're very proud of what we're about to do.
Thank you, Don. Any questions for Don? Mr. White?
Yes. Good afternoon, Don. This is in Ward 5, correct?
It is.
Okay. Actually, that was done before I got here on the council. I appreciate you doing that for the community at large, for the President Bella's ward. But I did have some questions in the terms, had there been any previous TIF district dollars there or any abatements?
No.
Oh, okay. That's it for me. Thank you, sir.
Don, we did have a question, though. When was the grocery store and the strip center built?
Okay,
Remember?
well, I think right around 2001.
Okay, Sean, that answers your...
Yeah, more or
Okay.
less.
So it's
Somewhere
been a while.
between, I think, in the first apartments, not too long after that in Prairie Point. I may be off by a year or two.
Okay.
I do have one demolition question for Don, if you'd indulge me as a board member for the Crossroads Chamber. When you go to the north end, if there's any way to save that wall sign, would you contact Deanna?
Yes, I will. I was in the space today.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be, don't let me forget, yes, yeah. Where is the sign, actually? Is it on the wall?
It's on the wall on the north end where we used to rent from you. Yeah,
Yes,
now
it
we're
would-
on
It
84th
would be
Drive.
my pleasure to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for this petitioner? This was one of the empty buildings I took a picture of and put on my campaign brochure and said, we need to do something with these empty buildings. And I want to thank Mr. Weiss for stepping forward and doing something with an empty building and building something nice instead, so that's great. I support this project myself. Hearing nothing else, Madam Clerk Treasurer, let's call the roll on this, please.
Sure. Mr. Span,
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway,
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk,
Yes.
Ms. Uzelak,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit,
Yes.
and Mr. Bella.
Yes,
7 in favor.
7-0. Motion carries, Mr. Weiss. Thank you. Thank you for your support, council members. Moving on to Resolution 21-44. It's a resolution of the Town of Merrillville, Lake County, transferring monies in the 2021 budget within the casino fund. The decrease is $22,912. I believe we're going to move to table this.
Motion to table.
Second.
Was that Mr. White?
One of us. One of us.
Chair will recognize Mr. White. Motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. White, to table this resolution 21-44. And Trista, are we doing the right thing in tabling this for now?
Yes, it's fine. There's no emergency to do it,
Okay.
but Mr. King noticed it, and certainly we want to take care of it. But we'll report back to you with some better information on the process of what happened there.
Okay, great. Any discussion on the motion to table? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Span,
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway,
Yeah.
Mr. Minchuk,
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit,
Yes.
Mr. Bella.
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, that motion, resolution is tabled for the future. Moving on tonight to Resolution 21-45. It's a resolution of Town of Merrillville authorizing the transfer of cash change funds within the Parks Department.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Uselak, seconded by Mr. Minchuk, for approval of Resolution 21-45. Trista?
What you have before you, both in 2145 and 2146, are necessitated by Ms. Orlich's upcoming retirement. There are some things, specifically the cash change fund, which is the actual cash used by the concession stand and the front desk to give change to customers. That, of course, has to be accounted for through the clerk's office and for the State Board of Accounts purposes. There are processes to go through for that, and this is one of them, that it is to her name, Now that she is retiring, her responsibility and control of that should be terminated as well. And so this resolution takes care of that. In the interim, it will be to the control of Town Manager Reardon. Our suggestion is to do that so that it can still continue to be used. In the meantime, example, the next day upon her retirement, the center still needs to be open and operating. So transferring it to Mr. Reardon will allow that to occur. And upon the appointment then of the new director, it can come back through resolution to be appointed to that person specifically by name. And everything should be able to run seamlessly. The same explanation applies to number 46. I can wait for those comments for a moment.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, could you please call the roll?
Sure.
No?
Mr. Span?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yep.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
All 7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Moving on to Resolution 21-46.
Same reasonings here. It applies to the credit card that the Parks Director has been given to use to purchase supplies for the center, for the concession stand mostly. Again, there are very specific guidelines that the State Board wants the town to follow. This procedure will allow those to occur. Again, Mr. Reardon will take custody and control of the card and its records pending the appointment of a new director, at which time we'll have another resolution for you to put that person's name in the control.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. White, seconded by Mr. Span for approval of Resolution 2146. Any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Span?
Aye.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yep.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
All 7 in favor.
7 in favor, the motion carries. Moving on tonight to BZA actions. Are there any before us, Sheila?
No BZA actions, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any old business before us tonight? Is there any new business before us tonight?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that the town of Merrillville approves and accepts the offer from the Indiana Department of Transportation in the amount of $2,750 for purchase of certain eminent domain property included within 7455 Taft Street, Merrillville, Indiana, 46410. This document for sale shall be signed off by Pat Reardon, Town Manager, and Steve King, Town Engineer, to complete the transaction. This is, I believe, Mr. Svetnoff, part of the Taft Street Roundabout project?
Correct, and this is an acquisition tendered by the Indiana Department of Transportation, having to do with the uniform land acquisition offer. Everything appeared to be in order. We just need to get proper approval through the town council for Pat and Steve to be able to initiate these documents.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Minchuk. Just a voice vote, okay with that?
Yes.
Joe? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, Mr. Pettit.
Thank you.
Any other new business before us?
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
this question is actually for Steve King. On Broadway, I'm beginning to notice a lot of little daily accidents starting to happen, or they may have been up happening.
A lot of what?
Daily accidents.
Accidents, okay.
Specifically in front of KFC the other day. Wasn't nice to see a car crumpled up there and a young person lost their life. And I don't know, Steve, in the terms, do we ask the Indiana Department of Transportation for a turn signal somewhere? Because that's a little issue. Because sometimes you got to creep out of there, and people get nailed all the time. But this last one was kind of like the last straw for me in terms of seeing if we can do something to save people's lives. It's difficult to, because people ease up into the turning lane, and they think the person that's coming toward them stops. They don't. They kick the metal, and people end up hurt on quite a different locations. Even on, I'm thinking, 55th at the old King Gyro. Same thing, people get nailed by those turns. Now, I don't know if the same thing would apply in a turn signal for that area or that part of Broadway, but certainly I would like Steve to look and see if that's something we can do coming from North Broadway, because they kick it.
Yeah.
They kick it down there.
Yeah, I can mention that to the NDOT Traffic Department. I know you're talking about if you're headed north to turn west on 57, you got the kind of hill there.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, so that's something we could look into.
yes, thank you.
I'll get an email out to NDOT.
Uh,
And I'll make sure you're included on that, Councilman.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to also second what Mr. White is saying. I'd like to have my name included, because I agree with every word he said.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Span.
I like chicken, too.
I don't think that's the reason
Okay.
you turn there all the time.
Okay.
No more questions or
Thank
or
you.
statements, Mr. President.
Any other new business before us? Seeing none.
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
I'm sorry, I do have something additional to say. On the new business, I had got a call, and I know we're getting ready to do a jobs fair.
Right.
And I got a call from a United States Army recruiter wanting to know if it would be possible for them to join that job fair.
Certainly, Councilman, if you get me their name and contact information, I will follow up with them tomorrow.
Thank you. Additionally, Mr. President, the Lake County Solid Waste, and I'm sorry I came in late.
Yes.
The Solid Waste District is still interested. I did talk to Jan to see if the date was open on the 15th, and they would still like to take a tour. Initially, they wanted to do it in the middle of the week, but they canceled out today. But here's why I say the prime opportunity is, sir, is that you'll have all 27 communities sitting in the Dean and Barbara White Center, at least getting a look and seeing of its potential. Of course, you hear a lot of good things about it anyway, but I just think that if they're having meetings there, that would just be an enhancement for the community center.
No, I think that's great. Same with the CVA met there, and it was, 23 different representatives from across the counties?
That's great.
Oh, that's super.
It's a good way to,
What
good
is the
marketing
date of
tool as
that,
well.
though? What's the date, Leonard?
They're looking at July 15th of next month, of course. And when the county does, because I talked to Jan, she said, well, Leonard, you might have to charge them. I said, but I do sit on the Solid Waste Board representing the town of Merrillville. And they do bi-monthly meetings, so I don't know if we want to charge them or not, but I know some things that we can do where they might want to participate, like bringing environmental classes in and things of that nature.
Well, let me ask this. Did we charge the CVA, Pat, when you guys came and met there? I don't think we did we?
I don't believe so.
Jan, did we charge the CVA?
No, we did not.
It's another entity, right? So,
Yeah, it'd be nice. I think that'll bring that group of people down here. Because they're tired of doing Zooms. They don't want to go all the way to Hammond to by Wolf Lake.
would you like to make a motion to let them use it for their meeting at no charge?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to let the Lake County Solid Waste Board and its 27 members, free of charge, to hold bi-monthly meetings at the Dean and White Center.
Second.
So do you mean from this point on, or just July 15th?
I'd like to look at the 15th, and then I'd like to get into more discussions.
Okay.
See if they want to continue it.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure. I know some things, some of the board members had said that they love the Zoom thing, but we had the capabilities to even, like, if people don't want to come all the way from Whiting or Hammond from that part, for a better lack of words, I think we can use the Zoom portion of that to help facilitate those meetings.
So would you amend your motion just to include the one date then, July 15th?
I just amend my motion just to include that one date.
Okay.
And when I talk to them either Thursday or early next Monday, then I may come back before the council and ask for an extension of other dates as well.
Well, this approval might even encourage them to actually do it, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The motion carries.
I got one thing, Mr. President, I forgot about it
Mr.
earlier,
Hardaway.
is that the Gary Chamber of Commerce will be here on July the 8th for their civility workshop. That's going to be all day at the DNR Wright Community Center. And then they'll follow it up that night with a dinner at the Avalon. You should be receiving the invitation for that, Mr. President.
Okay.
But yeah, they will be there on, and we did charge them.
It was a
for use
reduced
of the
rate, right?
center,
Was it a
because they're
reduced?
gonna be using all 3 rooms, if I'm not mistaken, Jan.
Yes.
But yeah, but, you know, anybody that's out, they can stop by, and, you got people that's not only coming from, our area, but from other states and from outside of the country.
Okay. Good. Anything else under new business? Seeing none. Open to the public. Is there any public comment tonight? Please state your name and address and approach the podium, even if we know who you are. We know who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My name is Gene Velasco. I'm the judge of the Merrillville Town Court and a resident of the Ward 6. While I was sitting over there for the past year and a half, I've been looking at this wall and noticed that we got 48 years of officials of the town, and for some reason, unknown to me, we don't have the current membership up on the wall. Is there a reason we didn't do that?
Yeah, normally that's done during the term, and we just haven't, with COVID and everything last year, Gene, we didn't get around to getting the photographs done.
Okay.
But, no, they'll be going up sometime soon.
Okay. Do you know who does the pictures for the,
We can have anyone do the pictures.
do you know who's done the pictures in the past?
Giola's,
Dennis
Rick
Crane.
Bella did a
Dennis
couple.
Crane.
Dennis Crane
Dennis
did
Crane.
them.
Okay.
He did Merrillville High School, too.
Do we have
when
any
he came
idea
here.
who's gonna be doing them, in the, for the,
No, we really don't.
present members? Do we have any idea when this might occur?
No, we don't.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for
We'll
you.
be sure to let you know.
Well, hopefully I'll be here.
Great.
All right.
Mr. President,
Mr. White,
what actual size are those pictures, you know?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what actual size, like, are those 4x7s
I think
or
those are 5x7s.
5x7s? Okay. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Hey.